لو سمحت ما تنساش اللايك والاشتراك في القناة واللايك للفيديو. ده مش هيكلفك حاجة، لكن هيفرق معايا انا كتير قدام اليوتيوب وتصلب اليوتيوب وعناد اليوتيوب. شكرا.
Hunger Games, Agenda 21 or what? 3.5 million homeless, 18.5 million vacant homes in the United States. There you go. Oh, you're poor. What a joke. Woman in £1 million hat makes speech about austerity. Praying for starving children while sitting on a golden throne. This is the dynamic between people, politicians and banks. These answer to the same masters, thus they change legislation to suit them and screw them. This is how it works through this system. This is why the governments are not doing what's right for people economically or any other way. They're doing it for that which they represent. Politics, banking, and all their other stuff. One global unit. As this guy, I won't say it again, but this guy was talking about all the Satanists in banking. And this guy said, the system is broken, it was built this way. Of course it was. You know, let's get this right. I go to a bank, and you lend me money that doesn't exist, and then I pay you interest on it, plus the bloody principal, right? Let me get my head round that. But that's what's happening. They've created a system, because of the dynamic of the politicians representing the banks, legislation has been passed that allows banks to lend at least 10 times what they have on deposit, fractional reserve lending. So every time we borrow $50,000 from a bank, or putting $50,000 into a bank, let's put it the other way, they can now lend 10 times that, which doesn't exist, to other people that come and want a loan. It's interesting when you follow this around the banking system. One loan. I go for a loan. Can you lend me £50,000? Yes, I can. Why were you going to lend it me? I'm going to type £50,000 into your account. Where's it coming from? Oh, just type it in. That's no problem. So, okay, now you got £50,000, right? Which we have created out of nothing. Fresh air. Okay, so you get it. In theory, these figures on your screen. You see a car you like. You go over here. And you say, I'll pay for the car. You give him 10 grand or 5 grand for the car, whatever. He then takes that money and he puts it in his bank. Now this bank can lend 10 times that which has come from this, which was created out of bugger all in the first place. And when you follow this through the banking system, the amount of money that can be created from a single loan that was out of nowhere in the first place is absolutely bloody fantastic. These people, if they were charged with criminal activity, they would have to reincarnate many times to finish the bloody sentence. But it's worse than that, because who creates money? Governments create money. No, they don't. Overwhelmingly, private banks create money by issuing non-existent money called credit. Thus, this is how the economic cycle goes. Banks issue lots of credit. A boom is created. In the boom, people feel more confident because they've got lots of orders in their business and they've got jobs look safe. They borrow more money. Companies borrow money for more plant and machinery. People borrow money to go have a bigger house, a bigger car, or a bigger holiday, or whatever. What happens in a boom is people tend to get more and more into debt, credit card and all that stuff. And then at the optimum point, the fishing line has gone out there, now they're pulling it in. They create a crisis or a reason to take money out of circulation, not make as many loans. What do they call it?
لو سمحت ما تنساش اللايك والاشتراك في القناة واللايك للفيديو. ده مش هيكلفك حاجة، لكن هيفرق معايا أنا كتير قدام اليوتيوب وتصلب اليوتيوب وعناد اليوتيوب. شكرا.
Therefore, businesses start to shed workers or go out of business. People can't pay their mortgages, so they lose their homes. And the banks that have created this situation by lending money that doesn't exist plus interest then get all that wealth that does exist as they call in loans. collateral. And this is how, over centuries, fishing line out, fishing line back, they have hijacked the real wealth of the bloody world. And the Rothschilds are massively behind this in the banking system. This is Nathan Rothschild, the man who was responsible for building up the Rothschild empire in Britain. I care not what puppet is placed upon the throne of England to rule the empire on which the sun never sets. The man who controls Britain's money supply controls the British Empire, and I control the British money supply. And if you have one single currency, whoever controls that money supply controls the bloody world. That's the idea. And if you control the banks, and you control the central banks, and you control the reporting of the financial industry, you stitch the whole bloody thing up. In 2008, when the crash happened, I said that three things would happen. First of all, there was the crash of 2008 that had happened, so that said there's a problem. Two, governments throw fantastic amounts of borrowed money, credit at the perpetrators, the banks, until their financial barrels are empty. We're there. And then at some point, they want to crash the economy again on a massive scale to create the situation where there is a complete transformation of the financial system in the way that they want to create it, and it will be based on a world central bank, they're already talking about it, which would dictate all global finance. What are they doing in the European Union? Stepping stones, totalitarian tiptoe. They're saying as a result of the financial crisis in Europe, which these have created, we must have centralized control of all the banking in Europe. And then you look at the people who are coming forward to solve the problem. When we had the crash in 2008, the Bush Treasury Secretary was Hank Paulson, who'd come a few years earlier from Goldman Sachs, where he was Chief Executive Officer. The new head of the European Central Bank is Mario Draghi. Mario Draghi is a former employee of Goldman Sachs. The guy currently unelected and running Italy, Mario Monti, is a former executive of Goldman Sachs. And former executive of Goldman Sachs is like saying former agent of the bloody CIA. They never are. So all this money was hosed at the banking system, and in that way, a banking crisis became a government crisis. Because now the money's come from the government to the banks, and the governments are then making it a people crisis. And we said, what just happened? I thought it was a banking crisis. Now they're taking everything away. Austerity programs. Agenda 21. That's what it's all about. And see, what they want is a single currency. That's what they want. So the euro was never an end in itself. It was always a stepping stone to the single currency. All the euro is a stalking horse which has been used to delete the multi-currencies of Europe. It's deleted the guilder, it's deleted the mark, it's deleted the lira. But it's not an end in itself. It's a way of deleting all those independent currencies. And they want eventually the euro, it might be tomorrow, but they want the euro to disappear so the world currency can come forward. And people like George Soros, one of the demo cons and a Rothschild frontman, he and the Vatican has called for world central bank and a world government and all the rest of it. The IMF, which is just another agency of the bloodlines, is now taking over control of countries like Ireland and others on the basis of this economic crash which has been manipulated. And again, no heart, no empathy, consequences for people, consequences for families, consequences for children. They couldn't give a shit because they have no empathy. And what we are seeing all over Europe is this gathering economic situation because it's manipulated for a specific end. Britain is now 1 trillion
لو سمحت ما تنساش اللايك والاشتراك في القناة واللايك للفيديو. ده مش هيكلفك حاجة، لكن هيفرق معايا أنا كتير قدام اليوتيوب وتصلب اليوتيوب وعناد اليوتيوب.
In truth, it's bloody bankrupt. And it's being done systematically. I've been saying this for years. America is being used to destroy America. economically and militarily. Any country that cared about the people in a massive economic crisis would not be spending trillions on the bloody military and wars in different parts of the world. But it ain't the American military. It's the cabal's military being used to orchestrate the campaign of acquisition for the cabal. Therefore, they're just using America's economy to bloody pay for it. And the idea of destroying America is if you have superpowers that have the economic and military might to say no to your world government, you do not have a world dictatorship. So destroying superpowers is absolutely crucial to this world dictatorship that they want to bring in and are in the process of bringing in. And then there's these bloody credit ratings agencies, Moody's, Standard & Poor's and Fitch. They were the buggers that gave AAA ratings to total shite that actually helped massively to cause the crash of 2008. Now, they're credit rating countries and bringing mayhem. And the media are saying, oh, there's trouble at Mill for Portugal. The credit ratings agencies are downgrading. They're bloody owned by the same people that own the banks, for goodness sake. It's all a scam. And this is the Hunger Games world, the Agenda 21 world that's unfolding. And you know, it's great that people are challenging this thing with the protests and stuff, but you need to go more than that, and they need to get streetwise, because in the end, this world government structure of fascist control, it's not bothered about what the form of control is, it just wants the control. So it's quite happy for independent banks and biotechs and energy companies to be brought together under so-called government control, under like Orwell's ministries. So they'd have a World Ministry of Oil, a World Ministry of Biotech. The World Health Organization, created by the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, by the way, would become the World Health Ministry, controlling all pharmaceutical stuff and health and what have you, what passes for health for these people. And therefore, we've got to be streetwise, that if we see this happening, we don't say, yeah, get the banks and all that stuff, because we'll be cheering for the next stage of control, which is even more than it is now. We've got to get streetwise. Another thing, just a quick aside, there is a massive problem in the background of gold that ain't bloody gold, that's actually gold-covered tungsten, which is counted as gold, and when that bloody comes home to roost, that's a massive impact on the alien debt. This is what this is about. Debt is control. So let's get young people up to their neck in debt, massive debt, which they then spend the rest of their lives paying off, just to be bloody programmed with a system's version of events. This is a great list. This is what you learn from school. Truth comes from authority. Intelligence is the ability to remember and repeat. Accurate memory and repetition are rewarded. Non-compliance is punished. Conform intellectually and socially. This guy, H.L. Mencken, said, the aim of public education is not to spread enlightenment at all. It is simply to reduce as many individuals as possible to the same self-level, to breed a standard citizenry, to put down dissent and originality. And there was a study at the William and Mary College in Virginia where they studied the personality changes as people went through school. And they found this, a massive
ما تنساش اللايك والاشتراك في القناة واللايك للفيديو. ده مش هيكلفك حاجة، لكن هيفرق معايا أنا كتير قدام اليوتيوب وتصلب اليوتيوب وعناد اليوتيوب. شكرا.
Less synthesizing and less likely to see things from a different angle. That's what they found happens as people go further and further into system. And now they want to take this system and they want to make the kids pay for it with debt for much of the rest of their lives, right? Now, here's my suggestion, here's my question. What do you want to bloody do it for? What do you want to do it for? Why do you want to go through this system and have them tell you what you must think about every bloody thing? And if you don't tell the exam paper what it's told you to believe, then you won't pass. Why is it the done thing that you go through school, kitty, and then you then have to go to university? Oh yes, you go to university, that's what you have to do. Oh, you've got a chance to go to university and you're not taking it. Oh, you're crazy. Oh, I'm not speaking to you anymore and I'm your father. And all this bollocks, right? Well, and I see these protests of young people and students in London and stuff over the ever-increasing fees that are being charged to get ever-increasing debt for control over young people at the earliest possible stage in their lives. And I see them do their protests and all that stuff, and that's great. And then they go back to bloody college and university. The only way it's going to change is if they refuse to bloody go. Don't take part in the system. Now, and then they say, well, I won't get a good job if I don't go to university. I know university students are packing shelves in supermarkets. Surely you have the creative ability to create a life without going through this friggin' sausage machine. Come on, we can do this. We don't need the bloody system. Perception control. This is a major thing that's going on. They're creating an electromagnetic sub-reality to talk to us within the frequency of human brainwave and electromagnetic activity. And this is what these are about. First of all, America, Britain, anyone else listening, we need a massive no-compliance rebellion against these frickin' things. Watch the word smart. Big red alert. Smart is the buzzword of Agenda 21. It talks about smart meters, smart grids, smart cities.